Good morning, students. Today I am explaining Wordsworth's poetry, Finton Abbey. The full title of this poem is Line composed a few miles above Finton Abbey on revisiting the banks of the Wye during a tour July 13, 1798. It opens with the speaker declaration that 5 years have passed since he last revisited this location, encountered tranquil rustic scenery, and heard the murmuring waters of the river. He recites the object he sees again and describes their effect upon him. The steep and lofty cliffs impress upon him thoughts of more deep seclusion. He leans against the dark sycamore trees and looks at the cottage ground and the orchard trees, whose fruit is still unripe. He sees the wreath of smoke rising up from cottage chimneys between the trees and imagines that they might rise from vagrant dwellers in the houseless woods or from the cave of a hermit in the deep forest. The speaker then describes how his memory of this beauteous form has worked upon him in the absence from them when he was alone or in a crowded towns and cities. They provided him with sensations sweet, felt in the blood, and felt along the heart. The memory of the woods and cottages offered tranquil restoration to his mind and even affected him when he was not aware of the memory, influencing his deeds of kindness and love. He further credits the memory of the scene with offering him access to that mental and spiritual state in which the burden of the world is lightened, in which he becomes a living soul with a view into the life of things. The speaker then says that his belief that the memory of the woods has affected him so strongly may be vain, but if it is, he has still turned to the memory, often in times of fretful stir. Even in the present moment, the memory of his past experience in these surroundings floats over his present view of them, and he feels bittersweet joy in reviving them. He thinks happily too that his present experience will provide him many happy memories for future years. The speaker acknowledges that he is different now from now he was in those long ago times when, as a boy, he bounded over the mountains and through the streams. In those days, he says, nature made up his whole world. Waterfalls, mountains, and woods gave shape to his passions, his appetites, and his love. That time is now past, he says, but he does not mourn it, for though he cannot resume his old relationship with nature, he has been amply compensated by a new set of more natural, mature gifts. For instance, he can now look on nature not as in the hour of thoughtless youth, but hearing oftentimes the still, sad music of humanity. And he can now sense the presence of something far more subtle, powerful, and fundamental in the light of the setting suns, the ocean, the air itself, and even in the mind of man. This energy seems to him a motion and a spirit that impels all thinking thoughts and rolls through all things. For that reason, he says, he still loves nature, still loves mountain and postures and woods, for they anchor his purest thoughts and guard the heart and soul of his moral being. The speaker says that even if he did not feel this way or understand these things, he would still be in good spirit on this day, for he is in the company of his dear, dear sister, who is also his dear, dear friend, and in whose voice and manner he observes his former self and beholds what I was once. He offers a prayer to nature that he might continue to do so for a little while, knowing, as he says, that nature never did betray the heart that loved her, but leads rather from joy to joy. Nature's power over the mind that seeks her out is such that it renders that mind impervious to evil tongues, rash judgments, and the sneers of selfish men, instilling instead a cheerful faith that the world is full of blessings. The speaker then encourages the moon to shine upon his sister and the wind to blow against her, and he says to her that in later years, when she is sad or fearful, the memory of this experience will help to heal her, and if he himself is dead, he can remember the love with which he worshipped nature. In that case, too, she will remember what the woods mean to the speaker, the way in which, after so many years of absence, they become more dear to him, both for themselves and for the fact that she is in them.